Welcome back. If it has joined us, you're watching the news at 10, live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Supreme Court dismisses former Vice President ATIKU's petition challenging President Buhari's victory for lacking in merit, affirms President Muhammadu Buhari as duly elected. PDP presidential candidate ATIKU insists he fought a good fight by challenging President Buhari's victory in court, calls for a strong judicial system and impartial electoral body. President Muhammadu Buhari commends Supreme Court verdict, asks opposition to move on and avoid distraction. And South Africa police arrest over 100 refugees and asylum seekers from a United Nations building in Cape Town following deadly xenophobic attacks. For more information on our top stories, please visit our website, channelstv.com. YouTube.com/channelsweb has videos of our shows. A Lagos High Court sitting in Ikeja has ordered parties to maintain status quo in connection with the ongoing probe of the procurement of 820 buses by the administration of the former governor of the state, Mr. Akinwumi Ambode. The order was made sequel to a request by the council to the Lagos House of Assembly, Mrs. Adenike Oshinowo, who requested for more time to file a response to the suit filed by the former governor. The former governor, through his lawyer, Tayo Oyetibo, had instituted a suit against the Assembly to contest the constitutionality of the probe of 820 buses, which he says were procured based on budgetary approval. He argued that it was part of the bus reform project of the state government, designed to revolutionize public transportation in line with global best practices. Staying with legal matters, a federal high court sitting in Abuja has adjourned for hearing the bail application filed by the former chairman of the defunct pension reform task team, Mr. Abdulrasheed Maina, to November 6th. The former pension reform task team chairman is being prosecuted by the anti-graft agency on a 12-count charge bordering on money laundering, operating fictitious bank accounts and fraud. But Mr. Maina pleaded not guilty to all the charges leveled against him by the EFCC. Justice Abang had on October 25th fixed Wednesday, the 30th, for trial after listening to the submissions of prosecution and defense counsel before ordering the EFCC to remand the defendant in the Nigerian Correctional Service Center. The Federal High Court had also ordered that Mr. Maina's son, Faisal, who was docked on a 3-count charge bordering on money laundering, be remanded in police custody pending the commencement of his trial on November 6th. Let's get more news now from Ibrahim Adra in Abuja. Hi, Ibrahim. Great to see you.
Hi, Amarachi. Well, one of the reports from this end is from Edo State, where another judge has been abducted by gunmen in Benin City. Justice Chioma Nwosu Iheme of the Benin Court of Appeal was kidnapped today on her way to the court. The Edo State Commissioner of Police, Mr. Malam Mohammed, who confirmed the incident to Channels Television, says a manhunt has been launched to crack down on the gunmen and rescue the judge. Justice Nwosu Iheme is known to be Nigeria's first female judge to study law up to PhD level, specializing in the law of intellectual property. Her abduction comes days after a federal high court judge in Akure, Ondo State, Justice Abdul Dogo, was freed by kidnappers who had abducted him on Tuesday last week at the border between Edo and Ondo states. Justice Dogo was rescued on Saturday by operatives of the Inspector General's Intelligence Response Team from a forest behind the Federal College of Education in Itakpe, KOGI State. The federal government has lifted the suspension of 2 humanitarian aid agencies working in the northeast. They are Action Against Hunger and the Mercy Corps. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Farouk, says the decision was taken after receiving reports from a board of inquiry into the allegations against them. The 2 aid agencies were suspended from operating in the northeast following an allegation by the Nigerian army that they were allegedly providing aid to Boko Haram. The army had in September blacklisted and subsequently sealed the offices of Action Against Hunger in Borno and Yobe states, stating that it had credible intelligence that the humanitarian agency supplied food and medication to the insurgents. Now to electoral matters. The fear of voters' harassment and inducement topped the list of concerns raised by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) ahead of the November the 16th governorship elections in KOGI and BAYELSA states. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu mentioned this at a meeting with civil society organizations in Abuja. He also criticized some civil society organizations for not submitting their post-2019 general elections reports to the Commission. Professor Yakubu adds that the Commission is already collaborating with relevant security agencies to look into the situation.
The Commission is similarly concerned about possible voter harassment, inducement, including vote buying, and other sundry violations of the Electoral Act. I must re-emphasize that voters are not allowed to carry their mobile phones or any photographic devices into the voting cubicles on election day. Given the volatile nature of politics and elections in BAYELSA and KOGI states, the Commission decided to engage with stakeholders early and continuously. Our objective is to speak early and continuously with all stakeholders and hear from them what the additional steps we need to take in order to ensure peaceful campaigns, election day activities, collation of results, and declaration of same would be. We have already engaged with the security agencies to ensure unimpeded access to voting locations and collection centers for accredited media organizations, in addition to adequate protection for all, including election officials and voters.
Meanwhile, the Vice President, Professor Iheme Osinbajo, is asking the people of KOGI State to vote for the candidates of the All Progressives Congress to move to the next level of infrastructure and economic development. Professor Osinbajo was speaking to residents of Ida during the official launch of the governorship campaign of the All Progressives Congress in KOGI State, where he gave assurances that KOGI State will be part of the transformation agenda of the Buhari administration.
It's the official flag-off of the governorship campaign of the All Progressives Congress in KOGI, and the venue is Ida local government area of the state. The presidential chopper conveying the vice president and other top officials of the party touches down, signaling the commencement of the campaign.
And I want to say that this is indeed a tsunami in Ida.
Then comes the campaign promises as the national party chairman of the APC, Chioma, reels them out.
Level, and he doesn't need to start learning again. He's going to begin to fly at 35,000 feet. So we have come as his friends, as his comrades, as his brothers, to assure you that we have absolute confidence in his ability to take KOGI to the next level.
The vice president asked the people of the state to come out en masse to vote come November 16.
The only way to make sure that we get to the next level is by making sure that that day, all of us, everybody is APC that day, every single person. And we must go there and vote for Governor Bello.
The candidates for the November governorship poll, Governor Bello, who is seeking to be re-elected to the Lugard House, promises to move the state forward and consolidate on his achievements.
You have seen exactly what we've been able to do in terms of infrastructure in KOGI State. We had that problem and we're solving the problem.
With this flag off, Governor Bello and his running mate will now take their message of continuity to every nook and cranny of the state. in their bid to get re-elected for a second term.
The federal government is taking steps to ensure its assets at the College of Aviation Technology Zaria. That perhaps explains why the Federal Executive Council has given approval for a special risk insurance cover worth over 500 million naira. The sum of over 2 billion naira is also approved for the road and perimeter fencing of the Port Harcourt Airport. Now, these are some of the resolutions of the council at its weekly meeting in Abuja.
Zonal office in Bauchi. The NDIC zonal office in Bauchi has been operating from rented office accommodation, and the office accommodation has since become unconducive for a good working environment.
The sum of over 500 million naira is approved as special risk cover for Aviation College Zaria.
To cover from 10th of June 2019 to 2022, but the yearly payments will be made in accordance with the extant laws and regulations.
Aviation College Zaria.
To cover from 10th of June 2019 to 2022, but the yearly payments will be made in accordance with the extant laws and regulations.
The Port Harcourt contract is for a period of 6 months. Mr. Sirika also spoke on the planned national carrier.
The carrier that we intend to bring is such carrier that will support the national economy, $450 billion official GDP, 200 million people, at the center of Africa itself, equidistant, very robust enough to compete favorably with international airlines. And we are not saying that when you establish an airline, it means that every other airline in the country goes down. No. The purpose and intent of government is to continue to support businesses so that they will continue to provide service and employ our people.
Memo for approval.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed announced an approval to secure the Lagos port.
The purpose of this memo is to supply this scanner, which would enhance the security at the Lagos port complex.
In all, contracts worth over 8 billion naira were approved by the council. And time for a second break, but when the news at 10 returned, South Africa police arrest over 100 refugees and asylum seekers from a United Nations building in Cape Town following deadly xenophobic attacks. We'll bring you that and other international stories on Around the World in 5. Join us again.